Eddie's having technical difficulties.
Alright, ready to start?
You found it?
Yeah, they're pretty much synced.
Are you recording?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, bet.
Alright.
If you put it into theater mode, the chat will pop under it, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, maybe it'll be bigger if you put both in theater
Yes.
mode.
Oh yeah, it goes bigger at least, yeah. Also have pop with chats if you want.
I can't hear, by the way.
Yeah, I can hear
hear.
it. Yeah.
Need to have this tab clicked on. There.
We can't hear
Hmm?
it. Yeah, we can't hear the video.
Ready? Why? There's
I
no
don't know.
sound?
There's no sound.
Okay, well, we're gonna have to give up on the split view, I think. Seeing both.
Why? It should play the whole audio. Maybe you muted it. Like it wasn't playing any audio when you were looking for to sync
I mean,
them. When you were trying to sync them, it wasn't playing any audio.
oh, I gotta share the system audio. Okay.
But that echoes. See, it
Okay,
echoes.
well that's interesting. Anyway, I just wanted
You're
to
in
also
there?
say
It echoes.
that what Jake Shield said.
The Discord.
Oh,
it
no
echoes.
echo.
Oh, well, I can't.
No, you just play the audio for the one tab.
Yeah, but I can't have both tabs.
I could hear G's voice.
Just share tab.
Okay, never mind.
Can't share both tabs. Can't share both tabs and only have the tab audio.
I mean, you can in Pipewire, but I guess you don't know how to use it.
But,
Okay.
oh, you're already maxed out. You're just really quiet, Zedek.
Okay. I don't know. I guess there's no solution to that. I don't know. Did anybody else have a solution to that?
Yeah, the solution is to have like Discord as an application. I don't have that right now. So.
Me neither. I'm not installing it on my work laptop.
Okay. Yeah. So just play Zulu's side, I guess.
There's plenty of people on TikTok that I debate all the time about this topic. You wanted a more, theatrical or significant forum to do that, and I obliged. So, it's not that he said that there's nobody who's going to debate the topic. He just said there's like no one with a large or substantial following.
Well, you gotta rewind because it wasn't playing with audio the whole time.
Oh, I mean, nothing was said before. Like, there's no.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just them.
I mean, I want to hear the context, bro.
Okay, they're just both of them are coping.
Like, just rewind a little bit, bro. You know?
Dude, I'm telling you, this debate is worthless.
Yep.
You can speed it up.
Do you want me to introduce stream, or do you want to play this?
This Worf is debateless.
Well, you wanted to debate me, so
not
sure. So yeah,
don't put it that much.
Yeah. Jake
Just
Shields was on
bit.
Twitter saying that he couldn't find anybody to defend capitalism against you, and show why communism is bad. And so I thought I'd do that. I think communism is indeed bad. It's a very bad way of living. It violates the necessary requirements of human survival and flourishing. And in fact, the communists can't even say that it is moral. You can't even say that it is a moral system, being a materialist.
Okay, well, that's interesting. Anyway, I just wanted to also say that what Jake Shields said is he couldn't find anyone who's prominent. There's plenty of people on TikTok that I debate all the time about this topic. You wanted a more, theatrical or significant forum to do that, and I obliged. So, it's not that he said that there's nobody who's going to debate the topic. He just said there's like no one with a large or substantial following.
Sure. So, I mean, do you have anything to comment on what I said there? Do you think that communism can indeed be justified in any sort of way?
I mean, yeah, of course. I think what you said is just a claim that I don't even see a reason to entertain. You said that communists can't even justify the moral superiority of communism. I guess you can just claim that, but I don't know why I should take it seriously.
Well, you are materialists, are you not?
Correct.
So how on earth would
Wait,
there be?
I want to just ask, just for the purposes of clarification, are you like an Ayn Rand objectivist?
Yes.
Okay, did Rand not identify as a materialist?
No.
What the fuck is that?
Really? Okay, so Rand identified as an idealist and didn't
No.
identify with Aristotelian materialism.
She rejected both materialism and
That's like the go-to argument for
Not that me,
communists,
bro.
is saying that Ayn Rand was an idea, was a materialist.
That's fucking hilarious.
Cropping's weird. I just
And
want to
idealism.
Discord at the same time.
Oh, in favor of a secret third thing. I understand.
yeah, it's called objectivism.
Yeah. Right, which she did not regard as materialistic, according to you.
She did not.
Okay, so yes, I'm a materialist. If you're asking,
Okay, like do you accept that there's such a thing as free will? Like, could my thoughts somehow
Nobody
cause my
asked.
actions?
could your oughts cause your actions? I think
Thoughts.
I wouldn't reduce. Oh, could your thoughts? Well, thoughts also reflect reality in as much as they influence reality, right? So I wouldn't necessarily say you could reduce actions to thoughts, but I definitely think thoughts partake in the affecting of actions or performance of actions.
Okay, so you think that thoughts could influence reality? Like, now this is surprising to me.
I think thoughts are a part of reality in some sense. Sure,
Well, a part of
they
reality.
do.
Okay.
They do in fact originate from material causes.
Sure, but which way around does the causality go? Like, could I think something and then that causes certain actions I'm going to take, or would it be the actions I'm taking cause what I think? Like, if I'm engaged in certain modes of production, let's say, then I'm going to think certain things and be like a
Well, what you're
capitalist.
describing is a relationship. In a relationship, you can't ultimately reduce one to the other entirely. It's a processual relationship. But I would say that ultimately, of course, the material world pre-exists thought and the capacity for
Oh man.
beings to think. I mean,
Why
I think
am
this
I
is true.
agreeing with Haas here, bro?
Yeah, same.
My question,
Yeah.
my question exactly.
I was agreeing with communists.
Like what
Did you
should let's see what Zulu says in response, bro.
I think he abandons
Did you
this
hate the
view
fact that-
for like the bourgeoisie for his polylogism.
What?
He abandons this point in order to push communism.
Oh yeah, I would bet. Yeah, he would have to abandon it to anything that would require dualism. Yeah, I mean, it's fucking. I'm sure he has a lot of dualistic premises, right? But like that's not one of them.
Yeah.
Biologically, on a natural historical level, I don't know if you would disagree with that. But ultimately, thoughts can absolutely influence material outcomes. But then again, thoughts also reflect material realities in as much as they influence them.
No,
So it's a
here's what an
relationship.
objectivist would say, right? Here's what an objectivist would say, and this isn't how we know, right? An objectivist would say that consciousness is epistemically active, but metaphysically, it's not. It's not.
A primary.
It doesn't create reality. You know what I mean? Like it's epistemically, it produces knowledge, right? But it doesn't produce. You can't will things into existence, right? But also, and that's because, right? This is because consciousness must have an object, right? It can't exist without its object, right? It's irreducibly tied to its object. I mean, inextricably.
Okay, so would you say that it would be, for instance, like the type of society you get at some point, that would be due to the thoughts that the men who make up that society hold? Like they want that type of society in some sense. So that's the type of society they have.
I don't think that's a useful question because it begs the question of where the thoughts came from and what realities the thoughts reflect.
Okay, so I'm confused there. So it seems very simple.
That sounds like
Like, is it
polyreligion.
that the
What? Oh yeah. What? Az is saying.
He said, what realities those thoughts reflect?
Yeah, that's. Yeah, I mean, Zulu is kind of just saying, oh, the ideas emerge from nowhere, and that's how you get a society of humans. whereas is like, well, no, the thoughts don't come from nowhere, right? So to his point of view, there, like, it seems agreeable to me what Az is saying there, because it's just, yeah, for you to think about things, you're in an environment, right? You can kind of
Right.
see it just that way. He's just saying, well, thoughts don't happen in a vacuum. And we think
Mhm.
because we deal with problems, we deal with an environment.
Yeah, but
I,
he's gonna
Yeah. He's
he's
stating
yeah,
that
gonna
where
he's
he's
gonna
gonna
link
go
that
wrong.
to determinism, you know? Yeah, that's where he's gonna go wrong with that.
Yeah,
I
what
think
he was saying there, it's like a very standard, I don't know how you call it, like post-Kantian influence thing to say. What he just said there.
Yeah. Right.
I remember Peikoff wrote about this in what was it? Ominous Parallels.
Kant's Copernican revolution.
He talks about that, how these later Kantians would very much accept exactly what you said, like polylogism, where it's like this group of people has this kind of logic, this other one has this other logic.
Well, yeah, I mean, Marxism is definitely like that's key to it, right? You know, the bourgeoisie logic and the proletariat logic are different, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That's definitely where he's like what he's getting at.
Yeah, and it's basically saying, you know, logic conforms to our whims instead of conforming to reality, right? Logic is as a tool.
I think he's saying that like there's no invariance to reality. Reality is always in change, so there's
Mhm.
no such thing
Yeah.
as like a universal logic of any kind. So it's all the logic of
He does
humans
say later that
reflect their environment.
reality. He does say
Huh?
later that the reality is like has its own logic or whatever. I remember that in the debate. What's he
Let's
saying?
continue. Let's continue. Let's see what's going on here.
The society we're in, that causes our thought processes, which is what I read Marx as saying, or is it that our thought processes give us some society?
So our thoughts are a reflection of our materially embedded practical existence.
Right, so that
Wait,
makes it seem like
what was that?
Our thoughts.
So our thoughts are a reflection of our materially embedded practical
A
existence.
reflection. I don't like that term, but I'm
Yeah,
fine with saying whatever material, like practical existence. You know, materially embedded practical existence. Sure, you know, like you know,
it's like
it's
saying all
it's
the
thought
capitalists live in
for
a capitalist
action.
way.
You know what I mean? It's thought for action, thinking for action. You know, in the real world. And thinking only in specific respects, you know, reasoning
Mm.
only in specific respects, not reasoning in itself, right? Like if that's how you're going to understand it, that's fine.
Obviously, he's saying it to say that like if you live as a capitalist, you're gonna have capitalist thought. If you live as a
Yeah,
proletariat, you're
that's
gonna
not
have
what he's
proletariat
saying.
thought.
Yeah, exactly. Like what I'm saying is not what he's saying. It's just like the
right,
language
so
he's
that makes
using,
it seem
you know?
It's just I guess the words he's using, the framing, it's like yeah, there's the beginning of something it's definitely a better point than Zulu. That's the kind of the sad thing here, is that he's saying things that are closer to what would be a proper explanation than what Zulu's saying. Zulu's just trying to say, well, thoughts emerge and they cause things, but where do they come from,
Yeah,
or
and
what's kind of the kind
I
of
think just like
relation?
generally it's because he's just you know, he's allowing in predicativities. He's just saying, "Oh yeah, look at the larger context, guys," you know?
Hmm.
If you want to know about this thing, look at the larger context. And that's yeah, like that's true.
like the materially embedded
Just
practical
interrogating
existence
him.
is like the fundamental thing.
What did you say, Zen?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's just interrogating him. He hasn't like he wants him to commit to a position. That's what Zulu is trying to do all this time. And
Yeah.
he's never doing it. So he doesn't have to do anything more, really. I'd say.
Yeah, I understand that.
I don't think it has
I was
is.
just explaining what Eddie was saying. Why it sounds better what he's saying, right? Because what he's saying, the form of what he's saying is just like look at the larger context. But he's not gonna really take that anywhere, right? He's not gonna carry that forward. That's for sure. He's gonna you know just derive from his already like pre-given assumptions about things. Like his whole like his whole things about determinism and all that. Like I mean we haven't got there yet, but that's what I'm assuming.
I don't know if he's going to be like a full-on determinist, or I guess we'll see.
I mean, the thing is, he never goes into that. Through the entire 3-hour debate, he never concedes fully that he's a determinist or for will or whatever.
All right, let's continue. Let's continue.
I mean, he doesn't have to take any of the positions, right? It will come right after, but he can just, as long as he allows the idea at least that humans can influence their environment, then the idea that he can say, oh yeah, well, communism is good because we should influence it that way. Like the attack from Zulu doesn't work. He doesn't have to completely say, oh yeah, either one, right?
Well,
Yeah,
There.
I think he has to actually. Yeah, he has to commit to a position.
I haven't watched the fucking debate, guys. Let's just fucking go and watch it.
That's
You
what's
guys
giving you
already
your
watched some
thoughts.
of it.
It is fundamental, but you can't say thoughts are reducible to that because thoughts also partake in that. But okay, to simplify it for you, from a natural, historical perspective, I don't know if you believe that, but let's just make the assumption. For example, whatever type of hominid that immediately preceded what we regard as a modern human being was materially embedded in a certain type of practice, and this was the inheritance that human beings had before they could even
Extremely right.
partake in thought as we would
First human.
recognize it, right? So in a strict sense, yes, the materially embedded practical existence precedes thought. But because thought is a reflection of that, sometimes our only access by way of knowledge to the materially embedded practical existence that we are rooted in is through thought. So it's through thought that we can have access by way of knowledge to our material and practical existence. But that doesn't mean we can reduce it to thought. That doesn't mean that thought is the cause.
And see, this
Sure.
is
Okay.
this is like
Great.
okay, yeah, okay. Zulu's gonna agree here, right? But you see, this is like, I think this is the problem where Zulu is like, you know, he comes in and he's like, let's take it to the most abstract, level like I could possibly bring it right away. You know what I mean? Like unlike his, like he used to debate. You know what I mean? To very very stick like to a solid like point of contention. You know what I mean? And like build up things from you go through a chain of like questions and you build up to more like hard hitting questions. You know what I mean? But you see like it's he just drags himself into like we're gonna talk at the most abstract like philosophical level, like, and we're gonna have all like it's just gonna start with a bunch of like esoteric like shit,
Oh.
or like has is now just allowed to fucking like yap and on about like whatever he's saying like about embedded material practical existence, right?
Yeah, not linking it back to anything really, and
Right,
Zulu is
yeah.
not doing that either.
Right, yeah.
Well, he
Let's
can't.
see where that goes.
And it's like that I've seen that like there's a pattern there, in a lot of his recent debates. Like we've seen, like since he's gotten into objectivism.
If you start by talking in the clouds, you won't ever make it back to Earth.
Yeah.
So that thought couldn't cause a certain society to come into being, right?
No, it couldn't.
Right. That's what I understand the dialectical process to be. Right. It's that the society you're in, like if you are in a capitalist society, then that's going to, generate capitalist thoughts in you until the contradictions come about, and then it starts generating like. Okay, sorry.
No, the dialectical framework would say that the capitalist mode of production is internally contradictory on a material and practical level, and that therefore the thing that would be reflected is not necessarily the identity of some capitalist system, because no such identity exists. What would be reflected are the contradictions within that system.
It's like we
For example,
haven't
principally,
earned any of these terms or anything that's being talked about here. You know what I mean? And we're just gonna go in circles because like they're talking past each other. You know what I mean?
Mm.
according to the basic Marxist view, class distinctions.
Sure. So, okay,
Mhm.
then
Sure.
if these thoughts,
Just yeah, we'll see where it goes.
the type of society you get, the thoughts that people have, if they are kind of caused by the society they're in, whether from the contradictions of that society, right? They don't have like a specific choice over what they believe. Like in the feudal era, they can't just randomly start believing in whatever the hell they want, right? They've got to
No,
believe.
surely they can believe in whatever they want, but in order for those beliefs to be material, and like every sense of the word material, so I also mean like relevant or significant or like that matter at all, really. They have to adequately reflect the reality in some way. They have to speak to some, for example, primarily, the way material realities have thus far been reflected within people's consciousness is through mystical and obfuscatory terms and so on and so on. And those don't necessarily reflect reality in a sense of containing knowledge of that reality, but they do refer and signify real material realities. Like a peasant, for example, who says that he's like a prophet of God, and it says that he talked to God directly, whatever, and starts preaching a new doctrine. For him to gain any traction, he has to actually speak to real existing class divisions within his society and mobilize other peasants around his banner. And then in this way, class distinctions can be given some kind of form. But so anyone is free to imagine whatever what is within their capacity to imagine, and anyone is free to attempt to act upon the faculties of their consciousness and their imagination. There's no denial of that whatsoever. But in order for that to be historically significant or material in any sense of the word, it has to actually correctly or in some way affect.
Really, he's talking about like bridging the dualism or something. There's like the infinite
Right.
potential of the mind, and then it gets
But yeah, I can
actualized.
also tell that like it seems that I like just like the general like vibe I'm getting is that has is very well read on Marxist philosophy. He's probably read a lot of fucking, Marxist philosophical like literature, right?
Mm.
I bet he's read fucking tons of it, and he's fucking talked about it for fucking hours and hours and hours, and like a lot more than Zulu has read,
Objectivism.
objectivist literature, like wide ranging objectivist literature.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys like feel that too, like you see that. You know what I mean?
Definitely. I do think there's, that's one of the reasons that some of the like the constant quotes "A is A," existential existence exists. Those things, it's starting to come to annoy me with how people use
He's
it, as if
thinking he thinks it's like, I mean, I don't know, like this isn't really for Zulu in particular. I mean, it's just like it's a trend like that you
Mhm.
see in objectivism, and it's just like like they think thinking in examples means thinking in fucking quotes. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
exactly. Existence exists, philosophy is solved. That's basically the attitude sometimes, but it's
Like it's the exact like thinking in examples is the exact opposite point, right?
mhm.
The point
And
of thinking in examples.
that's something that Peikoff talks about in the lecture where he mentions it was about independence, I think.
Yeah,
What does it mean
yeah,
to
yeah,
live an independent life? And
yeah,
he goes like,
exactly.
"Oh yeah, I was making a mistake. I wasn't thinking in the examples. I was just in this stuck in this like loop of trying to define something out of nothing."
Right, yes, bro. What? It's just that's rational. Like that's the fucking
That is literally the act of rationalizing.
yeah, exactly, bro. That's what rationalizing is, bro. You fucking like you're trying to, think about the arbitrary and you just fucking can't because it's nothing. So you just fucking like go deeper and deeper, like you get sucked into a black hole, like in all like it's like a black hole in your context of knowledge, and like all like any thought or and all knowledge or anything you try and connect to it just gets fucking sucked in and like obliterated, and everything like
Mhm.
disintegrated, like we've talked about before. It's like it's like some of them, like they just wake up one day and it's like they fucking forget everything, and they just can't remember the fucking philosophy at all, because it's not like at all connected to their life, you know?
Mhm.
Actively reflect the historical and material reality.
Okay, so let me just note that down. So in order for those choices about what they're believing to be historically or materially consistent, they have to reflect like the material conditions. Would that be?
I would say effectively reflect. So there's a key distinction here. Reflect correctly by way of like true or scientific knowledge, not necessarily, but reflect effectively in the sense of effectively communicate this reality, even if indirectly to others, then yes.
Okay. So what does it mean for it to be historically significant? Would that be that it is able to like, you know, bring about some change in what the society would be in like the future?
To participate in the transformation of society in a, you know, what we call history, to partake in the transformation of our specifically human reality.
Okay, so would they have to speak to like the contradictions existing in this system?
Yeah, they would have to somehow
Zulu's doing a good
they would,
job here. He's focusing on like the essentials here. I think he's
Yeah.
doing a good job.
Trying to get what those do these terms mean actually, like what's the
Well,
principle
he
behind them.
doesn't have to focus on what all the terms mean, right? If he focuses on the
Mhm.
essential.
Yeah, just that's kind of what I mean. I mean the what the essential part of Az's rambling mean.
Like if this is how he would like he starts he starts off in the clouds, you know. This is the only way out. Really is, you know.
Yeah.
Just focus on the essential. What you know, what's essential here. But let's see if it you know,
would have to
he
articulate
follows it through. You know, he
at
takes
least
it all
aside
the
of
way
the
out. Yeah,
contradiction.
takes that path
Yep.
all the way out of the, you know, the muddy like waters. You know, the muddle that he's got himself in at the start.
Let's see.
Speak to like the contradictions existing in this system.
Yeah, they would have to somehow they would have to articulate at least a side of the contradiction within the system. So in order to partake in the contradiction, and for Marxists, the contradiction is what propels the development of history itself.
Okay, so then how would men truly be free in their thought if it could only ever be historically significant for somebody to communicate things and try to convince people of things? If you know, if people could believe anything, why couldn't they convince people without speaking to these supposed contradictions?
Yeah, right now he's working off the Peakovian script of philosophical, like his explanation of the philosophical theory of history and his arguments, like straight from his lectures, I think.
Just being a parrot right now.
Essentially, but like he's just applying like Peikoff's arguments.
So, yeah, I don't think there's anything bad with it.
No, yeah, there's nothing bad about it. I'm just like pointing it out.
So you're saying, hold on, what are you saying? You're saying, how are people free if they have to actually communicate with others in order to have an effect on others?
No. I'm asking, like, if people were truly free in their thought, that they could believe whatever they want, it doesn't have to be purely determined by their conditions they're in.
Yeah.
Then why is it that you can only ever have historically or materially significant communication if it's speaking to some side of the contradiction in the class struggle?
Oh, so you're saying, how can we reconcile the freedom people have to, for example, imagine whatever they want or think about whatever they want, with the fact that in order for the outcome or product of that conscious process to actually be historically significant or material, it has to actually like articulate contradictions within society? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Okay. So I would say, broadly speaking, when we're talking about the range of permutations that are possible within consciousness or within the imagination, those are actually defined by a definite threshold of what has thus far been experienced or known or possible according to history itself. But, you know, the imagination and thought can synthesize and combine these in various different kinds of permutations. What we don't have the freedom to do, for example, is imagine something that, for example, doesn't exist yet. So if I'm living in feudalism, or if I'm living in the ancient Greek slave society or something, I don't necessarily have the capacity to imagine something like an iPhone. You know, the precedent for the discovery of the actual material threshold of what is possible technologically and scientifically and so on doesn't actually enable me to just freely imagine that. And we can see this, for example, the imagination of a given era is stamped by that era. When people are imagining the future in the 19th century, it very much reflects the reality of the 19th century. We can all see that. When people are imagining the future
praxeology
in the
would
Middle
be
Ages,
really useful here to get to the essentials. Just saying. I don't know what praxeology. What's that?
Get the essentials of it. You're saying Zulu should bring praxeology up? I don't know.
Yeah, bro. What's that? Praxeology. Never heard of her.
Interesting enough, Has brings up praxeology first.
What?
Yeah,
Okay, that's
yeah. It's. I mean, they don't really use it, but he does bring it up.
just in what way would this help in the context of this conversation? Because the like
It would help
Mena,
get us out of this fucking muddle, bro.
because they're kind of they're talking about like the nature of action and thought, but
Right. It just like let's talk about like specific points in praxeology, right? Because that's where the fucking meat and potatoes really like shows itself when you're talking with fucking Marxists, with communists.
uh,
You get what I'm
see,
saying?
uh, partly I just don't know because praxeology doesn't necessarily tell you like the
Well,
nature
I
of
mean
action, right?
praxeology as in economics.
Oh yeah, I mean, already it doesn't seem what they're talking about right now. It's just it seems like Zulu had this idea of just kind of almost pinning as on like the fact value dichotomy, just appealing to that. Oh well, you can't say it's a should or shouldn't, and he's kind of saying, well, if you don't have free will, you don't have that, so you shouldn't even argue or something. I don't think it's a good strategy, and it's
Right. I
just
mean, it's not a good strategy. That's what I'm saying.
kind of just
uh, we,
boring.
we we should, before, I mean, like, we can ignore all of this. We can get past all of this, right? If
Mm,
we just start with praxeology, right? You start with economics.
yeah.
You know what I
Yeah, I
mean?
mean,
Like,
especially if you're actually talking to a communist, you just go ECP boy. Like, just talk about you,
right?
they can't win on economics. If you're gonna debate this guy, I don't know why Zulu would try to go this more abstract thing.
Bro, yeah, start with economics, right? And then you just like you beat them down, like you fucking take away their whole fucking will and everything, like their whole confidence and everything, just like absolutely just beating them down on basic, praxeology, basic
Mm,
economics, right? And then you start, bring it to philosophy, and then you just be like, what's your evidence for that? What's your evidence for that? And it's like they don't have any, right?
mhm,
Like we can just point to everything that's already been talked about. They just fucking like they got demolished on so many other points on economics,
mhm. It
and it
seems
becomes
like
really easy, to like expand, like go from there, like where you were saying something, Eddie.
uh, I was thinking, it almost feels like Zulu's doing the very thing that for a long time he was complaining about, of people just being in philosophies.
Right, right.
Just kind of trying to be at a place where this debate does not need to be, and just to talk about
Philosophies,
philosophy.
right? Philosophies because it's unearned, right?
Hmm.
Philosophy comes into the discussion only if it's earned, right?
Hmm.
That's what I think.
I think that's a good way of saying it. Well, let's see if they listen to us.
I'm sure it reflects in some way the reality of the Middle Ages. So it's not. So we have to understand freedom is just the ability to
Like, just think
basically
about any
repeat
other
all.
discussion you would ever have, right? Philosophy wouldn't be the immediate thing, you know?
Hmm.
Like, if philosophy comes up ever, whenever, like how philosophy comes up naturally in any discussion, right? It comes
Yeah.
up because it's earned, and that's just like to concretize what it means, like what I mean by, like, you understand with that picture, right, what it means to say, like, that philosophy, if it enters into the discussion, it's earned, right? Like, because then you understand that feeling, right, of it actually being earned. You know, you guys all have probably had such experiences, right?
Yeah. Right.
All of the errors or all of the missteps or all of the one-sided forms of knowledge and experience that have thus far been accumulated. And I actually think that's not actually the real freedom. The real freedom is when we are able to partake in a contradiction that partakes in a novel historical development. This is freedom as true insight into necessity. Only when there's a permutation, only when there's something that's not simply a permutation of what has already been in some way or another, but actually participates in the novel development of history, can we actually say that there has been a free act of thought or something? So freedom is freedom insight
And
into necessity. I follow,
maybe
you
that's
know,
why, like listen to this shit. Listen to this yapping, right? And it's like maybe that's why, you know, Zulu has to fall back on his like more rationalist tendencies because he's just like, well, now I gotta ignore most of what the fuck this guy is saying, you know, and just like make a clear like point for him to answer because now I'm in this fucking muddle.
Yeah, and Zulu definitely doesn't have enough knowledge to like give a proper ground of ontology or anything to kind of more directly deal with these claims and be like, no, what you're saying is just fucking retarded.
Right. But it's still it would it's still it has to be earned, you know?
Mm. Right.
the basic Marxist line on that.
And presumably, that novel act, would that be like the communist society?
Yes, but not necessarily across all of history. I think across all of history, you have exceptional acts
Like
that do reflect
honestly,
novel historical.
like think about what he just did, bro. Like that guy just yapped for like if you looked at the transcript, you just like you put up Zulu's responses like against what Haz is saying. You know, Haz yaps for like fucking like ever. Like this is what's been happening with Zulu, right? This is a pattern that's been happening with Zulu and all of it and some a lot of his recent debates, right? We all know like all of his recent debates have just been yapping and yapping and yapping coming from his opponents, right? And then Zulu just
Mhm.
has to say one thing in response and then they come back and yap and yap and yap, right? It's just like how like I think you probably just have to, you know, fall back on rationalist sort of like tendencies in order to ignore everything they're saying and get out like a single point like that. Like how else do you do it unless you start thinking like a rationalist? You know what I mean?
You
Yeah,
just have to interrupt all the time.
Right.
'cause I definitely think Zulu, he was in prior debates, he was also very aggressive and able to control the flow way more.
Right.
But now he's just letting people ramble on and on and on and on and on.
Mhm.
And I don't know if it's like part of me is thinking he might think that it's a good strategy, like don't interrupt your enemy when they're making a mistake. Like he thinks that as doing this and saying nothing is good for him because it shows.
But like I just said, like how do you, you know, ignore most of what the fuck they're saying to just get out that like one single point, you know what I mean? Other
Mm,
than, you know, start thinking like a rationalist. You get what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah, I mean, if somebody responds to you with a rationalist claim, it's very easy to respond back with
Yes,
another
yes, yes.
rationalist claim.
Instead of taking a step back, right?
okay, I get what you mean. It's like you're yeah, okay. Yeah, I get. I think
Like a
I
like a
get it.
like a good example would be like if somebody's talking about God and you're like, well, if God existed, why does he let evil exist? It's like what
It's
the fuck
Mm.
are why would you
hold up,
say
hold up.
that?
Like, if God existed, why does evil exist? I mean, like, sure, that's an argument. But like, I thought you were about to say something like the theist would say, and then like you get trapped in there, like you get trapped like discussing, you know, like presuppositionalism and like discussing like the fucking like the definition of God. You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay, that's yeah.
right? That's not the way to go about it. You don't want to even just entertain any arbitrary thing like that, right? Yeah,
You're talking more about, like not thinking an example. I think that's almost a good example of like thinking rationalistically. Like Zulu here
like because
as is just
if you let them, right? You're
mm,
literally like because if you let them, it's like with a theist, right? If you start asking it like you start discussing with a theist, right, about like the definition of God, right, and start trying to deduce contradictions from the definition of God and stuff, right? If you
mhm,
start doing that, you're it's like you're just letting them like every argument that you can make, they're just gonna keep inventing more and more fucking fictional
unadult
like
terms.
ad hoc corrective, like fixes to whatever problem you point to. You know what I mean?
And
Right? They're just gonna
it's
keep
almost
multiplying it like ad infinitum, all these like
the
arbitrary entities, like in properties of God, right? But
you
it's
keep
like
going down the infinite regress, right?
right, yeah, and it's because you let them do that in the first place. You're letting them start like inventing shit, like bringing shit into the discussion that they literally just fucking invented, like poof, like it's literally nothing, right? And now you're giving it like credence, like any merit, like the fucking like that it can be even enter a rational fucking discussion,
Mhm. Yeah, I think I understand. Yeah, that's true.
But yeah,
changes
if nobody wants to say anything about that, you can continue.
that people partake in. For example, I mean, you could name a whole host of things, right? You could talk about historically significant figures like Martin Luther or Thomas Munzer if you're more communistically inclined, or you could talk about prophets in the biblical tradition, Jesus Christ, and so on and so on. People who more or less articulated something new that was not simply a permutation of what has already been. And I think that now, yes, I think that now the position of freedom and truth today is the communist outlook. Yes.
Okay, so so there
And
are at least some
that's pretty
instances
true for the
where people
most
are.
part. Like if you've read, like if you've seen anything like the modern like Marxist philosophers, like the way they talk, they're very what's it called? Like processual,
Mhm.
uh like Whiteheadians, kind of thing.
Yeah, so it's kind of. I mean, that's always been the thing, right? It's like the world constantly recreating itself in a completely not random way, but to them there's no conservation, right? It's there might be then this current
Right.
step to the next step.
They're Heraclitean almost,
Yeah.
but they don't deny change like a lot of early Marxists did. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Uh, like it's more of a modern thing. Like in the past decade or so, like you if you look at the Marxist literature, like not like novel Marxist literature in like the past I guess it would be called like neo-Marxist or whatever, right?
Mhm.
This literature in like the past decade or so, like you'll see, they don't deny really free will that much, they try and like basically like you've seen Bruno, like you know how Bruno talks about it,
Oh,
like
that's fucking gross.
like fucking what's his fucking word, like fucking like for technology or whatever, and like
Yeah.
the technological like conditions or whatever, like they fucking determine you or whatever, but it's like you create the tech, like like there's still free will or whatever in creating these like conditions, and it's like you know what I mean. They're trying to like just invent shit again,
Mhm.
right? You get what I'm saying? Like they're just trying to redescribe it all, right, to fit their Marxist assumptions, right?
Yeah, it's really just like a coat of paint they're trying to
Right,
put
right,
on.
right,
Uh,
exactly.
yeah, I've encountered that really often. It's like just a semantic game. And I think that's a place where accusing them of being like Wittgenstein people makes it good. Like you're just doing language games, but that's what they're doing. They
Yeah,
have
it's an essential part of their whole
mm,
philosophy. You know, like even you see these new like theist guys like T Schema and like these guys who have been joining, like they're
mm,
fucking Maimonians. Search out what the fuck Maimonian is, bro. It's literally like I was it's entirely like rhetorical like nihilism, bro. You know, just
mm,
like totally like just like obfuscate and obfuscate and obfuscate and obfuscate. You know, just like use the most like vague philosophies and just uh say like, oh, you don't know this, you don't know that, you know, this fucking like very niche like fucking like philosophers like principle or whatever of this thing, right? And like
yeah,
this
yeah.
just like you haven't earned any of this, right? But they just like go on and on and on and on,
They
right?
start with this, right? They start
Right.
with just
And they don't have a discussion. Like I literally
mm,
like I was they this guy was DMing me, you know, Zap News, right? This guy was
yeah,
DMing me,
yeah, yeah.
you know, and I was literally asking him, do you think a discussion, you know, it's possible to have a discussion where the other person doesn't understand what you're saying? And he was like, no. And he's like, yes, 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 it's possible, right? Like, and it's
What?
he was just fucking, you know, he was just fucking
Not
rambling
missing the
on and on and
point.
on about bullshit, you know, and like literally ignoring even just like accounting for that that it's even understood by the person he's just fucking like saying it all to, right? Like
Mm.
it's all just gibberish, right? And
Yeah,
then he just like, oh, I win because you don't know what I'm saying.
that's, I mean,
Why he thinks that's a victory if you don't
And
know.
literally look up
oh yeah,
Maimonianism. Look up Maimonianism, bro. This is literally essential to their whole fucking view. Like this is their whole like philosophy is literally like telling them to do this. It's not just that they're bad at debating or whatever, that they're dishonest or whatever. This is literally an essential aspect of their, uh their philosophy, which is just rife with like evasions, you know, from
mm.
bottom to top, right?
How do you spell that?
Maimon. Maimon.
That's kind of it goes with. I wanted to say that earlier, but you kept going. Didn't want to interrupt. That was one part that I hated the most with the guys like Bruno and some of the more like left Rothbardians or people of the
Yeah,
sort
they do
where
that too. The Wittgensteinians, they do that too.
yeah, and
Language game stuff, it's the same thing.
and it's the most annoying fucking thing when like they're doing the very thing they're talking about. They say, "Oh, you're just doing a language game," but you're doing the
Like
same fucking thing. You're
I literally
constantly
like
doing.
I was it was like so difficult just for me to get him to answer the simple question. I just kept repeating it like do you think, you know, you could have a discussion where the other person doesn't understand what you're saying? Right?
Yeah,
Like
the
that's
Zep
what
News
like
guy is a he's
and
a
it was just like so hard for me to get him to answer that, just like stop rambling on about shit. Like every time he would just he was just rambling on about shit. I was just like, bro, I don't know what you're talking about, right?
Sorry, my
You
I'm
know it's
getting a
just
call. I can't hear
nonsense
what
to
you're
me.
saying.
You know it's just nonsense to me, right? So like please like I just want to know, do you think you can have this like a discussion, right? Where the other person doesn't understand what you're saying. And he's like, yes. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Yes, of course. Like he just couldn't fucking grasp it, right? He just couldn't grasp like what the fuck I was talking about, right? Uh, at all. Like what a discussion is, right? He just couldn't grasp it all. Like, and I was just saying it's so like in the most simplest terms possible. And while he's like, you know, being extremely esoteric and like vague about everything, right? But he can't understand what I'm saying in the most simplest, way possible. Like that's crazy to me.
I mean, the Zep News guy, he's fucking insane. Like,
But and I was like, bro, what the
Losing
fuck is this?
accent.
And like I keep seeing that all of them, like T Schema, Zap News, these guys, right? They say like Maimon, he's like the goat philosopher or whatever. So like search for what fucking Maimonianism is, bro.
Continue the live stream. Only have like 10 minutes left.
Like free over their thoughts, over their actions, and that, like, would that then entail that their thoughts are able to cause their actions, that they can choose their actions?
Well, I want you to specify what you mean by freedom. So if you, for example, talk about my freedom to, imagine myself as a dinosaur and walk around outside performing, the what I think a dinosaur does, I certainly have the freedom to do that. But what is the actual material essence of what I'm doing? Am I actually doing that, or am I simply, expressing the ability for me to do something that effectively on a material level is proven to be, insignificant or unremarkable or not actually as exalted and as significant as what I imagine it to be?
Well, I'm not asking necessarily whether it's significant, whether people are going to go along with your acting of a dinosaur.
But am I actually doing that? I can think in my head.
Rather, it's neo-Maimonianism.
We're searching that. But right here, I don't like
Yes,
the thing to do.
Solomon Maimon is the guy who critically extended Immanuel Kant's transcendental philosophy by incorporating key concepts from medieval Jewish rationalist Maimonides and Leibniz.
It's the Jews again now.
Oh, bro. That sensibility is confused understanding.
Were you listening to the live stream while you were searching, or did you miss all that?
I was searching for this.
Oh, bad then. You still searching, or you wanna?
Yeah, but it's like a very like irrationalism, irrationalism.
I mean, just hearing, not hearing them, but reading what they were saying. Like, oh, you guys are schizophrenic. I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, exactly.
There's just no point to it, and they want you to. The Zapness guy, he's still like, oh, geez, ignoring me, talk to me. Like, he wants you to engage so much. It's fucking weird.
Yeah. Maimonism is often called skeptical rationalism because it uses rigorous logic to prove that our everyday experience is not entirely rational. Or Maimon argued that in Kant's system, sensory data the given is essentially irrational because it exists outside the understanding, and it's all like confused and incomplete understanding. And he was like Schopenhauer was influenced him by by him a lot.
Not surprising.
Yeah, I think they said they like Schopenhauer.
Yeah.
Well, they keep talking about the SRB or the whatever, the PSR. PSR was the thing.
Boots used to call it
It's always like, oh,
PSG.
PSR is this.
Like the
PSG.
PSG, yes, principle of sufficient grounding, but I like to call it Penty-Stocking and Garter Belt, like the anime. Penty-Stocking and Garter Belt, like, the anime. That's what
Probably don't know.
That's what I like to call the principle of sufficient grounding.
Do you want to keep watching the stream, G, or the live stream, or do you want to keep searching your esoteric ideologies?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm recording, so...
What, A or B? Yes.
Only have so much time.
Put on the lecture, yeah.
All right, I'm going to go back.
Do something that effectively on a material itself is means
that there are at least some instances where people are like free over their thoughts, over their actions, and that, like, would that then entail that their thoughts are able to cause their actions, that they can choose their actions?
Well, I want you to specify what you mean by freedom. So if you, for example, talk about my freedom to, imagine myself as a dinosaur and walk around outside performing, the what I think a dinosaur does, I certainly have the freedom to do that. But what is the actual material essence of what I'm doing? Am I actually doing that, or am I simply, expressing the ability for me to do something that effectively on a material level is proven to be, insignificant or unremarkable or not actually as exalted and as significant as what I imagine it to be?
Well, I'm not asking necessarily whether it's significant, whether people are going to go along
Right.
with your acting of a dinosaur.
But am I actually doing that? I can think in my head. I can delude myself into all sorts of different things. I mean, that's like the most ridiculous example imaginable. Let's talk about, for example, we don't.
Zulu should have interrupted him there because he's seemingly saying that you're not doing the action. Like if I go outside right now and I pretend I'm a T-Rex, you're not actually doing it because it doesn't have this like collective metaphysical importance. It's not like it doesn't matter in the history, in the current of history. Zulu should be like, yeah, you're actually doing it. Like you're you're actually going outside playing like a T-Rex. Why don't he seems to like just let us ramble on, and right there has jumping on something else, but he's just letting him.
We can go down this path of debate if you want. But for example, there's a lot of people that call themselves free market libertarians who support and champion the Zionist Javier Milei, who is very much not running a society according to anarcho-capitalist principles.
True.
While in their head, they're considering themselves, anarcho-capitalists with these, eternal principles that they consider the bedrock of a real, moral existence. But in reality and in practice, it's something quite different, right? So we need to really hone in on what is how can we actually articulate the relationship between thought and practice in a way that is actually true, right? Because you can think about whatever you want in a sense, but do those thoughts actually betray or reflect an understanding of the relationship of thought and practice? That's what a Marxist would respond with, basically.
Okay, so I want to like really hone in on this. Like, are you suggesting that like if you've just deluded yourself into this like dinosaur fantasy, for instance, or the Malay fantasy, as perhaps you would call it, but like then the question is, are they actually doing that? Like, are you suggesting that you might delude yourself into a dinosaur fantasy, but you're not actually going out dressed as a dinosaur?
What I'm saying is that I think that we can deceive ourselves. It's very possible that there could be a misalignment between thought and practice, and we confuse that for freedom. But that's actually not what freedom is. That's just a type of delusion where we trick ourselves by engaging in some kind of conscious act that only exists within our head, which doesn't actually reflect an understanding or knowledge of the practical material reality that's underlying it.
So if it's only in their head, right, this dinosaur person, surely they wouldn't then actually be going out dressed as a dinosaur.
Well, they could go out and dress as a dinosaur, but would that be the same thing as being a real dinosaur? I would say no.
Well, yeah, definitely not. But
right.
The point is, but the point is that they
fantasizing about being a real dinosaur in their head, right?
But then this at least establishes that thoughts can cause actions.
Well, it causes an action that is very much misaligned with the thought on the terms of the thought itself. So is the thought really the cause of the action, or is the thought just participating in some kind of deeper, more pathological cause, which is the root of the delusion? I think the latter would be true.
What would that like deeper cause? So then are you suggesting that there's something which causes both?
He looks so lost. He doesn't seem to stick on the fundamental now. I don't know if I'm the only one who gets that impression.
Zulu?
Yeah, like he's allowed as to insert so many fucking random words that now he's just dancing and he's trying to.
He just gets stuck reacting because he can only say one point to every single fucking wall of text.
Mm.
I think Zulu is just zoinked off the vape. He's like smoking.
Just what?
I thought it was a debate, but it seems it's actually a lecture by Hazan.
Yeah, lecture.
Right?
It actually goes down that route where Zulu's like, listen, you just teach me. You be the sensei.
bro.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Why would you
Yeah.
do that?
Oh, dog.
Yeah, it's
What's
I'm
going
telling you,
on?
you are wasting your time with this.
Yeah, you just tell all the theory to my audience.
And he just does like this is a pattern, bro. This is a pattern. It's been happening over and over and over and over, and like all of his recent debates, all of his recent debates, he just like lets his opponent yap and like yap and yap and yap and give a lecture basically.
Dressing up the reasons to
Actually,
do
and
that?
Oh shit.
possible
Verse,
paths.
yeah.
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Just within our head,
You guys are only 30
Play,
minutes
who
in,
is
or like
What?
20.
very
Yep.
much not
I'm guessing
running a
it's
society
20.
according to anarcho-capitalist principles.
But then this at least establishes that thoughts can cause actions.
Well, it causes an action that is very much misaligned with the thought on the terms of the thought itself. So is the thought really the cause of the action, or is the thought just participating in some kind of deeper, more pathological cause, which is the root of the delusion? I think the latter would be true.
What would that
This
like
debate should have been over,
deeper cause? So then are you suggesting that
What do you say?
like this debate should have been over from like the very start, bro. Because like Hazaldine opens with like, oh yeah, I'm a determinist. Oh
Oh,
wait,
it's one.
no, I'm not. And then it's like pick one, bro.
I mean, all he has to do is suggest to some extent that yeah, thoughts do matter without. Like, he doesn't have to pick either one. Like it might be just a debate, bro, strategy. Um, but here Zulu's also just not pinning him down at all, and he's just trying.
He can't. He can't because he's gotten himself in this muddle that
Yeah.
he has to get out of, but he just can't because all he can do is react
Mm.
to each fucking yap session. You can react with like
So
a
yeah, we
single
said
statement.
we said that there was like a specific scale where determinism and free will are like compatible in some way, but they like
No, but
No,
he
I
fucking
didn't say that.
I,
I didn't say that.
yeah, you did,
I
bro.
said
I
that.
told him he's fucking the compatibilism is determinism. He's like, oh yeah, okay.
Said the physical scale is explained in
Oh,
physical terms, and the agency scale is explained in ecological terms, basically.
Yeah, that's dumb. Physical. What do we mean by physical? I think what we mean is, the laws of thermodynamics, and the laws of thermodynamics are scale invariant with scale specific consequences. So at each scale, there's going to be a unique physical description, but abiding by the same scale invariant laws.
So, it's agential on any scale, right?
Right.
Okay, that one I was wrong.
Tisk, we.
Agential just refers to the fact that entities are the agents of change, right? So it's their actions are in accordance with their particular identities.
Yeah, and so like we can't say they're determined and have free will at the same time. That just makes no sense.
Right. Well, I can
Like either
maybe.
either
No, I
you're
mean
looking
toward
at
the
the
end.
system, like
Toward
like
the
like
end, yes.
like if you're it like how like praxeologists will be like, like the reflex or whatever. I mean, just like the involuntary or whatever reflex, right? Or just
Right.
like your heart beating, right? uh that's not like what we're concerned with, right? And it's like,
Hmm.
yeah, that's not the system that's acting, right? That's like when you're talking about that action, those actions are different systems. They're not like the human, right? What I mean? The human acts rationally. That's it. That's how it acts. That's what like its identity, is like at that scale where it's a thing that acts in accordance
So
with its
kind of like the
identity.
base
It's
level,
it's an
the
entity,
base
right?
level.
We don't
Yeah,
say,
the
you know,
baseline
parts.
maintenance.
Right, parts don't have causal primacy, right? Wholes have causal
Mhm.
primacy. Entities have causal primacy, right? So, what are the actions of what entity are these actions an action of, right?
But the heart would have agency at the proper scale.
Right, exactly.
Okay, right. Okay.
At the proper scale at which it acts, you know, in relation to other entities, other nested natural units.
Which would be like the blood flowing through it, right? Or the veins and the
Well, it has like a whole like the ECM and everything like around the heart and all that, like all around all the heart cells and everything. It's like all like it's very dense and like rich like environment, you know, like you know, there's a lot of stuff on this. Like I don't know if we want to get into this yet. Eddie doesn't
I
really
mean
have the much time,
I
you
mean
know.
it's a fractal, right? So it like just
Yes,
depending how you focus.
right.
Okay, yeah.
But remember, right? What we have, you know, like the method, right? For you know, basically what's the appropriate scale of description, right? System description, right? Where we and it would be, you know, what's commensurate with the behavior you're trying to explain, right? So that the behavior is you're identifying the system for which that behavior is necessary, right? Where there's no unentailed terms, right? We have closed loop of entailment. We have closed it's closed to efficient cause, right? There's no causes, right, of its the causes are not outside like the answer to every why question is inside the system, right? So
Mhm.
it's like the example that Turvey gives, right, is like, you know, if you're trying to explain the tides, right, semi-diurnal tides, right, this is the example he gives in lecture one of the perception,
Right, right.
right, but if you're trying to understand that, right? And you look at only like the earth and the water system, right? Just earth and water as the system. That's what you're including in your context, right? In your system.
Mhm.
If you just look there, uh you're gonna be missing a lot of like you're not gonna be able to see the laws, right? The invariance law. You're gonna be missing a lot of, you know, you're gonna have a lot of unentailed components, right? And in order to account for the behavior, you're gonna have to import some unentailed, you know, like externally posited terms, right? But you know, Rosen talks about this, right? Like how like
And
in the
so like
in the real world, in nature, right, causality, it makes no sense to say that, you know, there's room for posited terms in causality, right? In causal entailment in the real world, right? There's so it has to be in predicative, right?
and
It
and,
has to,
and
it
so
has to be
like
closed, right?
since since there's no like since we said there's no privilege scale, right? How
Well, I
like
guess
how would we define it?
I didn't finish my example. Let me finish my example. The example that Turvey gives, right? Yeah, you're gonna have to basically invent like magical like properties to in order to account for the behavior, right? But if you look at the appropriate scale, right, you know, you include like everything in you know, you include all the proper, you know, units, right, in the context, right? You're like the earth, water, sun, moon system, right? Then you can see the laws that such that, you know, you know, the pattern, right, of the rhythm, right, of the diurnal tides, right, how that works, right, the laws of that are, you know, are there to be observed, right? You can see them, right? You can identify the laws, and the behavior is necessary, right? There's no unentailed terms. There's no room for unentailed terms to be smuggled in. No room for magic, right? Just like in causality, in causal entailment, right? Between like things among things in the real world, right? There's no room for, you know, positing terms, right? Like Rosen talks about.
Well, so like Rosen in Life Itself says like the components of an organism don't have independent causal efficacy. You know, their functions
Right, right.
arise. So
But yeah,
how
but that's like the components that are components of the system. You know what I mean? Like they
okay.
like as components of the system. You know, but they're all like each part is a whole in its own right with its own parts, right?
Yes. Right. So we have to examine the heart as a whole to be
Right.
able to be on
Exactly.
that. Okay.
And what
Int-
delimits what delimits a system, right? What delineates a system is context.
close.
We look at the larger context that it's nested in, it's embedded in, and you know then you can individuate it, right? You can converge on you know the boundaries of the system.
Okay.
So I was wrong to think that there's a scale where you can think of matter in terms of inert and dense things, right?
Yes, 100%. You're fucking wrong about that.
Okay.
You know the laws of thermodynamics are scale invariant, bro. So at all scales, you know,
All right, did you want to?
Because
at all scales,
of the
processes are irreversible and undirected. They're active. Matter is active and not passive.
because
Definitely
the
run into problems if you start assuming that there's scales where all kinds of things are suddenly true.
What you have the problem when you have problems is when you don't account for thermodynamics, right? And then you don't look at the appropriate scale, and you're not looking at the appropriate system that for that behavior such that it's necessary. You like like I talked about this before. These fucking guys, right? Like they'll say like, oh, you know, like the fucking like first law. That's like only like true here. You know, it's not true. Like you know, like we create fucking matter all the time in super colliders, man. You know, like oh look at fucking the cosmological scale, like fucking dark energy stuff, you know, happens here, and like matter is destroyed, you know, and it's just like, bro, you're not looking at the right system. Like this is like the laws of thermodynamics are what are the standard of what is explanatory, right?
We've been saying that
If
stuff.
you're like this is telling you what this is telling you is that you are not looking at the appropriate scale. If you're fucking violating the laws of thermodynamics, they're the standard.
Who's been saying that kind of stuff about creating matter?
Right. If matter is looking like it's fucking if matter mass energy, right, is looking like it's appearing out of nothing and passing into nothing, you have to expand your fucking context, right? You have to include, you know, the proper, you know, context, right? And it's like this is said in like when they talk about the laws of thermodynamics in Intro to Ecopsych, right? Does somebody want to pull that up? Eddie's not here, so we're not watching. So, does somebody Intro to Ecopsych where they talk about, you know, the first law, and like if you have a violation of the first law, you know, all you got to do is widen your scope, right? If energy is looking like it's appearing out of nothing, passing into nothing, just widen your scope, bro. That's what you got to do because you're not looking at the system. You're not looking at the system for which that behavior is necessary, right? And then what that does, it leaves open, you know, the need for magic, literally to invent magic to account for the behavior, right? I mean, the laws of thermodynamics are what they're meant is, you know, to account. They're accounting for shit, you know, so that fucking they're accounting for, you know, there's a universe, you know, existence exists. That's literally what they're accounting for.
The accountant.
If the fucking right, like if the first law is broken or if the second law is broken, you don't have a fucking universe. Literally. So you're like your scale you're looking at is not appropriate, right? If whatever you can fucking derive from this is true, then literally you would not have a universe, you know? What the you know what energy and entropy, right, like the you know invariance laws, these symmetry principles, right, that are the laws of thermodynamics. What they do is they account for the fucking universe. Literally.
I have it pulled up right here.
Like
I
accounting.
found
They're
the graph,
literally
I put it in
that's
YouTube.
why they are understood as like literally, like when you're using it, like literally accounting, like you're literally accounting for, you know, like energy is not being created for nothing, or you know passing into nothing, right? You're accounting for it. You know, like it's going to be conserved across the entire process. And if it looks like you're drawing work from a already spread out homogeneous source, which is, you know, effectively reversing reversing entropy production, right? Then you're fucking looking at the wrong scale. Like this is literally like, if this was, you know, this was a system, this is, if we fucking diagram this as a system, it would be a perpetual motion machine. What would literally be fucking like fucking patent institutes or whatever, like where you get your patents, whatever, they don't fucking accept, you know, any over unity, right? Like violating the laws of thermodynamics, a perpetual motion of machine of the first kind. They just immediately dismiss any device that claims to be an over unity device, a perpetual motion machine of the first kind. They just immediately dismiss it because it's fucking, like, it's insane. You're an insane person. You guys like have anything to add to that? The fuck I'm talking about?
No, I'm busy destroying my perpetual motion machine that I thought would work.
Sakura,
You don't understand, G. I can make one. I won't punch a hole through space time.
This, I swear, mine works.
Like, bro, make what? Like, anybody, bro, who says that, oh yeah, the fucking law of the first law of thermodynamics, bro, it just applies here. Like, like we're creating like matter, bro. Like on this cosmological scale, like dark energy is doing this thing, or like fucking, you know, or that's like that they would use that to say like, oh, it's like matter is destroyed at that scale, or like, and they would say super colliders, we're creating matter all the time, like literally, bro. Like, tell them, bro. Bro, show me. Create a perpetual motion machine, bro. Do it. Yeah. like, like you need to shut the fuck up, right? Until you can fucking create a perpetual motion machine, which you fucking won't be able to.
Sakura, I'm running low on storage, so can you live stream it or record the rest?
I've been recording it for the past 5 minutes.
Okay, thanks.
This guy fucking on YouTube, right? Like I discovered him through Ian, right?